Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, 18 September 2024, and this is the regular board meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. I am Rich Reader, the chair, and here today is Bob Freeze, the vice chair, and Wendy Rathgeber, Select Board member. So we have a quorum. Privilege of the floor. Is anybody here for privilege of the floor? Something not on the agenda?
Right.
Yeah.
I had sent an email concerning a couple of meetings on this road, given that you're not paving it this year.
Okay.
There's several dead trees that should come down before the winter. Every windstorm or anything, I have to go out and throw a whole bunch of branches into it. And there's one in particular that's quite tall that's got nothing on it anymore, and it's gonna come down in the road.
Okay.
The other thing is that there's I guess I would call it a swale. It's just, it's a ditch is what it is if you're looking at my house, to the left of my house. That for a couple of years now, I've asked to have it dug out. It's filled with weeds. The side of our road does not get mowed, so that it just fills in, and come spring, when you get the snow melt, it's still frozen. It either overflows or it's, it's just, it needs a little bobcat coming in, or even maybe shovels, and just scoop it out, and it should be done in fall before next spring. And I would like to see if that could be done. We're supposed to be tied in with the road, but since that's not being done, I don't think this would impact the road when it is done, if it gets done. So I would like to see if those two things. The other thing I was wondering, usually in spring, we do that brush cleanup.
Right.
And we've had a lot of windstorm. We've had a lot of wind this year. And I was suggesting that maybe we could have another one this fall, not the community cleanup necessarily, but just say this Thursday, whatever Thursday, get your brush out, and the guys that come by and pick it up. And I'm just suggesting that might be a nice thing. So that's my things.
Alrighty. Oh, thank you. I don't think I've seen the email, but we can certainly take a look at the dead trees, the swale, and
Someone
look
could
at the
get back to
schedule.
me, because I did hear from everybody.
Okay, well, I apologize for that.
Okay. And since we're on Jennings Peak, and I know this is a bigger issue, what's going on? Where are the streetlights? What's the status of where we are with streetlights?
So we just installed today 3 new light poles of solar lights out here. There's 2 for the transfer station and 1 different one on the corner of Triple I and Tack Lane, just as you come in. Those were just installed today. We're gonna be getting those connected, and they are solar powered only, so they are not part of the electrical system, so we don't have to worry about the co-op. If we like the look of them and they work properly and stay charged and provide us the light that we think they will, it's our intent to have a CIP project for next town meeting to address streetlights overall in the town. We have reached out to the co-op on several occasions. It's been a nightmare trying to get our existing lights fixed because they are the ones that are responsible for fixing them, and they don't maintain that type of light anymore. So
now, what I mean, I could be wrong, but the one on Jennings Peak is, I would guess that where the light is, you're not going to get a whole lot of solar.
And that's one of the things we want to look at is, well, but the light is also different. We have a lighting consultant that's part of the company that can show us where the best locations are. And we have a lot more flexibility with solar lights on where we place them. And if they don't work in a certain location, we can move them around a lot easier. So
Yeah, I mean, I think we're about to give up on.
We're about to give up on the co-op and those lights, and we're just trying to find a feasible way. of replacing the system, because their only option that they're giving us right now is to go back to the telephone poles and the silver standard
Light.
street light heads, so that was not an
And you
option
can't put,
before.
like, sort of like the standard street light head on a more attractive pole than a telephone pole, or is the problem that then you don't have the dark sky?
The problem is what they will offer
Is-
for streetlights is the telephone pole
With the
option.
standard.
Okay, thank you.
Well, two of her requests require Megan to go look at Jennings Peak Road, but the third one was about the brush pickup,
Mhm.
a third brush pickup.
The only issue that we have with brushes, we have not been burning because of the lack of rain. I would not want to schedule anything right now until we can burn the burn pile. We can't take any more brush into the site right now. We've stopped all brush intake right now.
So could we just keep it on
We'll keep
Sure.
it, yeah, absolutely. I've got it written down, and as soon as we can.
Early November before.
Yeah, as soon-
Snowstorm.
Yeah, I mean, if we get some significant rain where we can burn what we have on hand right now, we can get something scheduled.
So multiple brush days was something I was already thinking about moving into next year.
Mhm.
So that was already on my mind to
Good.
do, so I do appreciate you bringing it up.
Cause it really does look nice after
Mhm.
you know,
Sure,
we did it on a,
absolutely.
you know, regular basis, I think.
Yep.
You need your.
No, I think we all agree. Sure. Anyone else have anything for privilege of the floor? You're on the agenda. Okay, let's go onto the agenda then. So I see the first thing is the Golden Eagle Lodge parking lot paving request, and I see we have the folks here, so Mark, you wanna take it from here?
Yep, Wendy and I have met with Doug and Tina, and I see we have both Doug and Tina and another member of the Golden Eagle Board with us. We have an existing easement between the town and it actually was with the Waterville Company, now with Tyrell and the Golden Eagle Lodge.
Mhm.
For the maintenance of a pedestrian way out of Town Square, across the bridge and south out of that area. And it was originally intended, it appears to be, the original intent was to connect the condo developments from Golden Eagle and south with the town square. And as part of that easement, the language in the current easement with the Golden Eagle is that the town will share in the maintenance of the road and the path. The road being the entrance into the Golden Eagle.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is it is rather vague
It
wording.
is pretty
It's the interior roadway,
interior.
which, gosh, it's a whole lot of pavement in there and it's up to,
Is
but
that the
anyway.
road that goes from Packard to the?
From Packard's and
Front
down around the front of the Golden Eagle
Right.
is what's on the plan.
Right,
But it does not specify in the wording of the actual easement in the
Okay.
deed exactly what they were talking about. But that's the inference that you get, is it was the entrance in and the circle around the entrance.
well,
And then the path, continuation of
underneath and
footpath,
all the way down to the
and then
bridge.
down.
and the access to Packard's Field.
Oh,
access
and that's,
to Packard.
did it talk
and the
about
parking.
parking or access,
It
the
does
easement?
not.
It implies, I
It
think it's
implies,
implied
okay,
with the
yeah.
internal roadway,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
so that's a whole other, I think, issue that we have to
Yeah.
resolve later. But since the Golden Eagle is trying to schedule to have the
Mhm.
paving done, and
Yep.
this is the first time they've redone the paving ever. So they're looking to do a very complete job. So hence in our conversation, they're looking for some sort of contribution. And we thought it made most sense, since Tina's there daily, to kind of guesstimate what percentage of that interior, that paved area is used frequently by townspeople.
Mhm.
So that was where
for package field, for
Package
events,
field.
Playing
for
ground.
fireworks,
Playground.
playground,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
access to the beach, all
Yep.
that,
All
all that.
the
All right.
walking through.
So I mean,
exactly.
it's certainly, it's certainly proper for us to, I hate to say it this way, pay our fair share. It's a question of figuring out
Mhm.
what that fair share is. And we don't have language in an easement that really
That lays out a percentage.
lays out a
or
percentage
anything
or
like that.
anything. So seems to me that the two issues we have are, one, how much, I think it was 85,000 was
Yeah.
roughly about a third.
Do you want to get their input?
Oh,
on
yeah,
how
yeah, I just
they
want to lay it
develop
out so people know
Yep.
what the Golden Eagle presented to the town, what they consider to be the town's fair share for this project. 85,000, 78 of which is the parking area and road, and I guess 7,000 for the walkway down into town square that goes under the Golden Eagle. So that's one issue, and the other is we gotta have better easement.
Yes, moving forward, we have to
Yeah.
clarify. the
So
language.
maybe we can
Yes.
connect the two and come to a general agreement. So yes, please,
If
Doug? Tina?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Tina asked me actually to start, because if you've noticed, we're in the midst of another big capital project. We're replacing our roof. That's a substantial investment, but it's needed. As you could tell, the shingles been blown off in the last few storms. So it's a little noisy outside our window, so she asked me to start with. So unfortunately, the timing of these two big capital projects, the parking lot and the roof, kind of come at the same time, 1 year apart. The parking lot is definitely beyond repair. We've had for the last few years been repairing the cracks and the potholes. It's not sustainable anymore. It's got to be replaced. And as Wendy said, it's the first time we've really done this undertaking since the lodge was developed in the late 80s. And so we intend to do it right. In other words, the bids that we've looked at, the one we are going with most likely does include a cost for grinding up the asphalt down to the base and relaying the base and putting down the asphalt in the correct way. So the intention is to have this parking lot last a really good long time. Gets a lot of use and it needs to sustain through that use. Second thing I want to say is the lodge's commitment to being a good partner in the community is unwavering. We absolutely support the public and the town's use of our parking lots to use town property, the playground, the Gaga pit, the Packard's Field. It's great to see all those activities right there in our front yard, and we don't intend on changing any of that, and we certainly intend on complying with the terms of the easement. We're happy to discover that that easement is there, and we appreciate the partnership and the conversations we had so far with Wendy and Mark. But that being as it may, the extra use that the lot gets from the town and the community and the public's use, it does add to the wear and tear, and we appreciate the town being willing to contribute to some of this. When we took a look at what percent of the lot and the pathway, we came up with a number that is about a third of the cost, which comes to about 85,000 plus or minus. Our total cost is going to be somewhere in the $260,000 to $300,000 once we finalize this. And we intend to have that include repaving of the pathway beyond the breezeway down to where our property ends, which is just about where the slope starts on the way down to Town Square. And in the spirit of working with the town, we are asking for about a third of the total cost and around 85,000 as broken down as was previously stated. And again, I just want to say we are happy participants in a community continue the public's use of our parking lot.
Tina, did you want to say anything?
Sure, I actually have a quiet moment here. So basically we are asking for the town's help because of the easement, and also, you know, as Doug has stated, we have such an amount of shared parking in our parking area because of the field, you know, because of the playground, when there's fireworks or any type of community event, our parking lot is the first one that gets used. So this is, you know, this is a huge undertaking for us to completely redo everything. We've never done it this way, so we really shouldn't need to ask to do it again for probably 30 years. So this is what we feel is a fair share for the town. I understand that the easement isn't exactly, it doesn't have the specific words, but I think when we look at the whole picture, it is a very shared space, and we would just, we would like a contribution from the town. It would be very appreciated.
And the
I,
easement
I
doesn't
neg-
come to a
I'm sorry, I
contribution.
neglected to introduce Sted Holton. Sted's that other guy there on the screen, and he is he's our property manager from New Star Properties, has been with us for a couple of years and been a great complimentary partner to Tina. And I'm here in my capacity as president of the Golden Eagle Lodge Condo Association's Board of Directors, so that's why I'm here.
Great, thank you. I mean, I think it uses the word, responsible, what's the word it uses for, the share that the town, reasonable, thank you.
Yeah.
Reasonable, so it's a very vague. Amanda, you've been closest to this of all of us on the board, so.
Yeah, I mean, the deed wording is very vague. And partly because I use that access way myself personally a lot, I do see that a lot of
Mhm.
people both use not only the walkway, but you see PE classes happening in the parking lot and Chalk Fest,
We-
just all
Yeah,
kinds
I
of,
mean, the rec
Yeah.
is probably our biggest,
Everything.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it's,
Yeah.
so I can definitely see how we,
Playground,
how we
playground
contribute.
is public.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no other access to the playground other than walking, I mean, but if you wanted to drive up. It's gonna go
That's
through the
it.
parking lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Bob?
Well, I'm definitely supportive of the concept. I think we should talk about the percentage might be fine. I guess the way it would work is we'd agree to a warrant item.
Yeah, we
that
have
would- That
to,
would then go to the town meeting in March
we would have
with the
to.
town approval.
Yeah.
So I understood that you were gonna get potentially a couple more bids, is that correct?
Sted, where are we at with that? I think we've narrowed it down, right?
We're probably going to go with GMI. We're waiting on one additional bid from a little bit of a smaller player that may not be outfitted to do it the way we're looking to have it done, but I am waiting on one additional bid, yes.
And that's the
the
bid that you
GMI
provided
is
us.
the bid
Right.
that.
Yeah.
that is in
And with
packet.
85,000.
The
That is
other thing
correct.
I was gonna mention is
Mhm.
this is a smaller part of it, but I know Wendy, you got involved with them last year before the winter about maintaining that slope going down to the town square.
Yes.
It seems to me that if they're taking on work there, I think we ought to make sure that whatever's getting done improves the situation.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
that's
That is
what the
part of-
that's
yes.
what the 7,000 is.
Well, I mean, is that just paving or?
That's-
Or was
is
that
it
part
gonna
of a
step- Is
larger-
it gonna
yeah,
step down?
No
that's a
or-
good question.
No steps, it's gonna be paving, right, Tina? That's paving all the way to the bridge. And we did talk to the resort about doing that.
I can clarify a little bit about that.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of discussions internally about that, and it's a little complicated if we were to have contract with a vendor to repave everything, including a segment that's beyond our property. It's actually on the town's property, back beyond the edge of our property that slopes down to the bridge. So we were hoping to have a discussion with you that includes you picking up where your property line begins to continue with the same vendor in an arrangement separate with them to continue the same quality of paving all the way down to the bridge. We think that makes the most sense, and I agree that needs a lot of work, probably more than the parking lot. Big holes, it keeps falling off, it gets icy in the winter.
So there are three aspects to this issue.
Can I ask who the people are that you got quotes from, who the companies are? So you have GMI, who else did you get quotes from?
Let's see, there was a company out of Meredith. They declined to cover the quote. And Tina, remind me of the last person that went up there. I cannot remember their name to save my life.
It was Bryant Paving.
Thank you, Bryant Paving. So Bryant Paving, I am waiting on currently.
Yeah, there's one other, and I'll talk to Tina offline. Porter Paving as well has been doing work, and they're large enough to to do that size of a project, but we'll give you contact info
Great,
and you can investigate that if you'd like.
for sure.
We'll need to coordinate with them anyway
Right.
because of this additional
Yeah.
paving of the path.
Right, to fix that
Yeah.
problem. So I mean, is it a preliminary sense of the board that we're fine with, say, a third for this project, or would you like to discuss that some more?
I think I'm okay with it. Of course,
Yeah.
we're gonna take it to the town.
Well, in any
Voters,
event,
but
right, and I think
Seems,
Tina and Doug
seems,
understand that, right?
seems reasonable to me.
I do think as part of this process, though, just because we have run into this sort of unexpectedly, it's not in the CIP,
Mhm.
not, not a planning thing.
Mhm.
That as part of this process, we should look at that easement.
Yes.
Oh, that
And,
was, absolutely, that was my next,
potentially, look at a map, and identify the area exactly that we're talking about. And come up with that percentage, whether it continues at the
Right.
33% or is some other percentage, but so future
Yes.
town
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, no,
and
I think
boards,
that, and the other part of it would be the
the
continuing
walkway.
on
We need
the
to
walkway,
figure
but
that.
I think for the purposes of this meeting, I think we
Yeah.
can agree preliminarily, a third seems about fair to the board, but we would also want to include an easement, a more specific easement
Yeah.
Yeah.
as part of this process, and then also look at that walkway. That's always a terrible issue.
Mhm.
It's part of the whole thing that maybe we can wrap up, hopefully we can wrap up
Yeah.
in time for a town meeting.
Yeah.
In March of next year. Does that seem a path forward for Golden Eagle?
I think that would be acceptable to us.
Yeah, as well, and I'm happy to work with anybody on the town side. We've got some ideas on the transition and, we're pretty familiar with that site, so we're happy to help any way we can.
Okay. All right. Any other comments? All right. Thank you, guys. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your
Yep.
time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, so the next order of business is the Ray Center funding request. I believe they gave us a budget. I'm just calling it
Yep.
up now. No, that's the
It's in your
Yep.
packet.
operations budget summary.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that they would like to tap 10 of the 15,000 of unexpended approved funds, but this is not part of the
Not part of the
The-
30,000.
that we agreed
That
to over a
was-
3-year period at
So just
town
so
meeting
the-
24. Yeah, go ahead.
So the public knows in 2023, the town appropriated $25,000 for assistance to the preschool, which was in addition to the operating funds for the Ray Center. The Ray Center did not use all of that $25,000 in 2023. They only used 10,000 of it. We carried because we were still in the school year that was covered, we carried the $15,000 accounting wise into 2024. And we appropriated at town meeting in a non-lapsing warrant article that was approved by the town meeting. We appropriated $30,000 additional for use between now and town meeting 2026.
So
So,
for 3 years.
it was a
3 fiscal
three-year
years.
non-lapsing account for $30,000. So the proposal here from the Ray Center Board is to utilize 10,000 out of the remaining 15,000 that was carried over and not touch the non-lapsing account.
Right.
So if this were the only amount extra that they requested for 2024, which it should be, we have a board meeting actually tomorrow to review the numbers to make sure, but we anticipate this would be the only other request that we would make on the $15,000.
Right, okay. So,
And so if that's the case, the remaining 5,000 would lapse at the end of this year.
okay. So, does anyone on the board want to say something at this point? I see a number of people here. I don't know if any of them are here for the Ray Center issue? So something you'd like
I
to
don't-
say about that? If not,
I guess I just have a clarification.
Sure.
You said 5,000 would lapse, that's from the 15 that.
That's
carried
from the
over.
15 that carried over.
So you're taking 10 of that 15,
Correct.
the 30 untouched at this.
So
point.
30 will be untouched. That's automatically non-lapsing because that was the vote
until
by town meeting.
town meeting 2026 or
Six.
2027,
27.
if you
27.
get the full
Yeah,
3 years.
yeah, the full 3 years was 27.
Right.
Yeah.
And those expenditures also have to go through the select board
Right.
and all those monies do not necessarily have to be approved or spent. They were just authorized by the town for the select board
Mhm.
to expend over a 3-year period.
Yep.
All right, I'm sorry, yeah, Wendy or Bob, anything you'd
Well,
like to say about
It
it?
just seems funny that they're requesting 10, they have available 15. And then after the 10
Mhm.
is given, they end up with a deficit of 3386.
Yeah,
So
why
I
didn't they
guess
want to ask?
my
yeah.
question is, why
There
did they
were-
ask?
Yeah, all three of us had the same.
There were other,
13,386.
there were, well, that would be great if you guys wanted to. We have other events, other fundraising events that the board had planned. So the initial request that the board had was for the $10,000. We still have a few months before the end of the
I suppose
fiscal
they
year.
could come
They
back
could
before the
come
end of the
back
year.
if those
Okay,
events don't happen and request a portion or all of the remaining 5,000, but we wanted to be conservative up front and, you know, we are doing fundraising as an organization, so try to do it as an
so
organization.
the 5,000 lapses at the end of the calendar year?
At the end of the calendar year, the end of the town's fiscal year. Yeah.
Okay,
So I move we approve this request.
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, moving on to 2023 audit letter.
Yeah,
We're
we
not ready for
are
that.
good. Yeah, we're good with that. We just, and just for the public, we just need to finalize a report with the auditors and we can bring that into you maybe at the next meeting or when you're
Fine,
here.
so I just want to defer that discussion.
Just defer it.
Okay. Next on the new business is a planning board items. There are several items. First one is a town contract planner. Our current planner has indicated that she does not intend to renew her contract at the end of the year. And so the planning board has decided to form a small working group of 3, to explore hiring a new planner or perhaps one of these municipal services firms that engage in land planning, land use issues, and legal aspects to all of that, something we don't have right now with our current contract with our town planner. So that's the update there. The working groups had one meeting and they're gonna have another meeting next
Next week.
week. And I think we're in the process of putting together a town staff as a draft RFQ to put that out and to see if we get any firms interested and what the cost might be. I think we had in the past, it was $10,000, I believe, is what we had given the planning board or appropriated for the planning board for the town planner contractor position.
So is she good till the end of this year?
She's good to the end of this year, and I had an email conversation with her, thanking her for the work she's done. And I asked if she would continue on until town meeting on, especially the zoning amendments, which she's in the process of drafting for the planning board to consider. And she said she would consider doing that, yes. She doesn't want to leave in the middle of all that, so, but her duties will be significantly pared down. I suppose we would just pay her
As
For-
of the end of the year, and it would be
Right.
on an hourly basis
from until
for January through
February,
March.
till town meeting. And hopefully by that point, before that point, we will have another contract town planner or a firm that we've engaged to conduct that for the town.
And the planning board did decide not to do an RFP, so we're not requesting the price up front. We're gonna do it the same way we did with the engineering services to make sure that we get the best firm. And then, so we're doing an request for qualifications, an RFQ process, which will leave the money side out of it, until we have selected the firm that we really want to work with.
Okay.
Okay.
Same approach.
The other items on the planning board just wanted to let the select board know that it's looking at several zoning amendments be working on this fall. Three of them have to do with environmental issues. And one for a proposed zoning change for parking. The last one is being worked on, has been proposed by Chief Payer, who's trying to integrate into our zoning what he's observed now over the years as the chief, as some of the parking issues we have and what changes he can make to zoning so that those issues perhaps could be mitigated, if not entirely
Yeah.
eliminated.
The same language is
Yeah.
used in the zoning ordinance that's used in the parking ordinance.
Right, which is
So
what
we
you
would-
want, right?
we
You'd have to
would-
do the ordinance,
Have to change both of them
right?
at the same time if we move forward with.
Right,
what
and
he
since
wants
it's
to do.
based on the zoning amendment, we've got to get town buy-in, and so if they do buy into the change to the zoning amendment at the balloting, not a town meeting in March, then we can work on, we can have DPS work on changing our current parking ordinance to reflect the changes in zoning. So probably wrap that all up sometime in the spring, hopefully. The zoning changes are environmental issues. Our current planner, Tara, is working on three. It's basically strengthening or laying on to current restrictions and regulations that exist for shoreline protection. Trying to remember, it was steep slopes, and the third one is, I'm sorry?
Floodplain ordinance.
Oh, floodplain ordinance, that she noticed that there's still some things we could do to our floodplain ordinance. We have made changes in the past, but there's still a little bit more we can do there to strengthen that, so. That, and the other thing, so those are the zoning amendments that the planning board will be looking at this fall for town meeting. And the last thing the other thing, major thing they'll be working on this fall is reviewing the site plan review regulations and specifically adding or strengthening the landscape provisions and strengthening, excuse me, the landscape provisions and potentially adding something on noise. It's silent as it is right now. And I think there was a third element. It was landscaping noise. I don't see it printed here, but it's escaping me at the moment. But in any event, that's the work plan for the planning board. Yeah. go ahead.
Yeah, the site plan is not a town meeting issue. That's
Right.
all under the planning board itself.
Right. So, and I think over the years, we've regularly looked at our
Yeah.
site plan and made
subdivision.
changes and actually have strengthened them considerably, and the subdivision regulation as well. So those are the planning board items, and I understand in our effort to update our regulations, we did solid waste, so now DPW would like us to take a look at highway regulations.
Yeah, so as I wrote in the memo,
Mhm.
it's not my intent to go into a lot of detail with these right now. It was more of an introduction, so that you could start to look at it. There is
Mhm.
the copy that I sent to you, in the packet, email, does not include winter regulations. We have another version here that has an 18 September date on the front of it, and I can give you have one at each of your
Yep, what I got.
places. This does include the winter.
So this is the
So this is the
complete
one.
highway regulation
Yeah.
package.
So this would be the one that I'd like to put on the agenda for the second meeting in October when Rich, you're back.
Hope so.
And Yes, you
Or
can
not.
come back. The intent would be to do the first review and comment on it. And
Okay,
then the first meeting in November to do the adoption.
okay, so to get it out of the way before we go heavy into budget,
Before we go into
Season.
budget and before winter
Discussions.
hits.
Well, there is
because
that too.
There's winter.
right? I see some changes
Portion.
already, so I see some
There are some-
strikeouts,
Yep.
and the
there are
highlighted
strikeouts.
are,
Highlights are additions.
additions, yeah, it's not colored, so it's just the highlights,
Or highlighted ones.
highlighted, sentences, sections.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does the rest of the board think about this plan of action going
Like
forward?
great reading.
All right,
Sorry.
something to do in a
Sometimes you. just
cool
gotta-
autumn evening, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Read the highway regulations. All right, let's move along to old business. Property valuation project update. So what is the update? And see if anyone's here to talk about that.
Take the lead.
Yeah, I think that we saw over the course of 4 days of appointments being scheduled, a tremendous amount of people inquiring about how the revaluation went, and we are continuing those discussions into Friday is the last scheduled day where we have 4 or 5 appointments already scheduled.
So it really expanded beyond the 3 days that were initially planned.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and the assessors were really happy about that. Steve Hamilton exclaimed to me that this is his favorite part of the job is to try to educate people on the process, so. We have given them a target date of Monday, this Monday, the 23rd. To have us have the valuation completed.
Right,
So that we can.
we have our
So
process
you,
we need to
That's fine.
accomplish for
Mhm.
tax setting, yeah,
Yep.
tax rate setting.
And move forward to provide you folks with the data on the 26th, I believe. We're looking at a special.
well, yeah, you would
We have a
have,
special meeting laid on for the 26th. It's a public hearing, actually, right?
it's the public hearing.
But-
What we would like to do is
Yeah.
expand that to a special meeting so that you can review the values, the final values. And finalize the MS1. So we
Right.
would get the information from Whitney Consulting by close of business on Monday, send it out to you. You'd have a couple of days, look it over, give us feedback, or if you have specific questions, we can get you answers on those. And then take it up at a special meeting half an hour before the public hearing. Unless you have a lot of questions, we could do an hour if you're available before the public hearing on Thursday, the 26th. Finalize the values, have you sign the MS1, and then we can upload it so that's that'll be the last remaining
Bit, and that goes
To
along to the state.
go to the state so that we're ready for tax rate setting. I didn't want to let it sit because we'll only have 2 members here while Rich is gone. So if we wait into October, we'll have to request another extension because we had requested to the end of September. The extension
To
on the
get
submission,
the
because the
MS1
MS1 is
to the
usually
state.
submitted by September 1st.
Right,
So I didn't want to go into October. That's gonna kick us way down the queue for tax rate setting
approval
and make
from
the
state.
bills go out that much later.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
if that timing works for you and you're available,
yeah,
I'd like to follow that
so you're
timeline.
looking at either 2 or 2:30, that would be.
Yeah,
Half hour
um,
before at 3 o'clock. Does it matter to,
On the 26th,
on the 26th?
26th. I just didn't want to do a meeting and have it last 20 minutes, half an hour, and then have you come back.
Right.
So let's initially schedule it for 2:30, and if we needed to, we could change to 2 o'clock if we have to.
Good,
so are you getting a sense that there's any major changes to what we saw initially?
No, Steve highlighted a couple of properties. Are they the Moose Run area?
Yeah, not in the
Just
overall,
individual?
but individual,
Yeah.
lot by lot.
That's- yeah,
And
that-
there's single undeveloped property as a group may be changed, but again, there are only a few lots
That's
that,
what,
that
Tom, that's what you were looking at.
Eight, we
Eight.
discussed it, eight
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
So,
so, you know. Yeah, there'll be some adjustments, but not wholesale where we have to change
Yes, they do.
all condos or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not seeing that.
But over 70 appointments have been scheduled.
Oh,
55 of them.
Over 70?
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, yeah, I mean.
Well, it was a big
we-
change
It was
after 2
well, it
years.
was a big change after a big change.
After a big
So,
change, 2 in a row.
I fully understand everybody's questions, so.
Okay, so we will take this up on the 26th,
Mhm.
special hearing special meeting, excuse me, at 2:30, and then we'll roll into a public hearing is already published at 3 PM to discuss the Britton land donation issue.
Yep.
Okay. See nobody itching to talk about this, so road project updates. We're getting close to the end of road projects, at least for this year, right?
Absolutely,
Okay,
yeah.
Have at
So
it.
I provided you with an updated expense report
On
for
Cascade, yep.
Cascade Ridge.
Yeah.
Including our town staff
mm-hmm,
labor, the
12,000,
total
right.
was 55,329
Mm-hmm.
for that. That was material, equipment, and the personnel costs. That was initially 47 to 50,000 was what we had originally forecasted. So we were close. There was more base
Right.
material that we did, more base work.
Now, even though a lot of this work had to be done because of the storm we had, this was not covered by
This,
FEMA.
this part was
Is
not
a FEMA,
FEMA,
right.
no.
Okay. And so it's just coming out of the road,
This is
Like
coming out of the road
road
repair account.
repair account.
Yeah.
Right.
So is there still old road that we have to take away, or is that gone already?
It's gone now.
Oh, it's gone, okay.
Any feedback from any of the residences? Is it working, I guess? And
Well,
are they happy?
Well, we've unfortunately, we haven't
Nobody's
had
here?
any rain,
Oh,
so
well, that is
the
true.
drainage, we still have some work to back up the road shoulders, back up the edge of pavement in the shoulders. And we gotta clean out some drainage structures and some of the ditch line along the area
Mhm.
that was improved.
Mhm.
But we had a small bit of rain right after we finished the paving, and it performed exactly the way we had anticipated. So we are definitely sheeting to the right as you're coming down
Mhm.
the road. And seems to be working well, but no real
To wait for
rain yet.
a real gully washer, right?
Exactly.
We want one of those,
Exactly.
and
And we do have some cleanup in the drainage ditches.
okay,
that
great.
We need to make.
So just to clarify, because most of your subcategories, really, you came in under
Yeah.
budget, which was great. It's just that paving. So was that the base layer? Base layer? It was
Yeah,
almost a third higher.
yeah,
than-
it was a little bit thicker, and then also we came into driveways a little bit more than we had anticipated,
Okay.
so that was the extra cost in there.
Good.
I think your staff did a good job,
Thank you.
from everything I can see.
Good.
We do wanna give a shout out to Manchester though for letting us borrow the truck.
Oh,
Yeah, there were
It's
two
gone.
things. The excavator time that we had up there on Cascade Ridge was done under a demo by a
Right.
vendor.
Right.
And the city of Manchester allowed us to use one of their 5-ton dump trucks, which allowed us to save a lot on trucking costs for the project. They have a similar program that our fire EMS
mutual aid.
folks have with mutual aid within the DPWs throughout the state. So they allowed transfer of equipment, and so it was great that they have some 5-ton dump trucks that just sit all summer waiting for snow. So
Oh, we could use it.
we
Yeah.
can
Okay.
use, well, but our mechanic also fixed several things on it.
Oh,
So
well, so they got a
there's
truck
little bit
better.
of they got
truck
it better
than
than
it was.
when we got it.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Noon Peak?
Noon Peak is
Peak
finished.
is fixed, it is finished, sidewalk is back to how it was.
And that repair was under the FEMA.
Right.
And there will be remediation next year that includes the culvert coming out of the culvert we just replaced and going across
To
Valley
Village,
Road.
so that was not done.
That was
So,
not done.
But there were two culverts done or one? We did the,
So there was one across the road, there was another one found that had collapsed.
okay,
Looked like
that's
it
what I'm remembering.
went in where the drop inlet is now in the road. Looks like it went straight to there, but there was nothing else that we could find, I guess it disintegrated. So we added the drop inlet there to catch all of the water that comes off of the hill, so that way we don't have ice there anymore.
Nice.
Very good, okay. So we'll be using FEMA money next
We-
year for the valley, the culvert
Well,
on the valley.
and we got FEMA money for the
And we'll
culvert
get
that we
reimbursed
replaced.
for
We got
this.
reimbursed a portion of what we
Right,
did.
okay. Jennings Peak,
Jennings Peak, the paving over the water line repair is done. And we are deferred to the spring for the rest of the project. We'll address the things that Joan brought up this fall. And then we'll come back in for the complete repairs that we have planned in the spring.
those monies are already been authorized, right?
The
For
monies have
Jennings.
already been authorized for Jennings, yeah.
I just want to go back to you asking if all of the road material was gone. We have one pile we need to bring back here, but we're gonna use it to dress up shoulders throughout town. And then there's other material that we took out of Cascade that's still fairly good material that, a condition upon BBTS letting us use that parking lot is that we dressed it up as best we could. So we're gonna use some of that material to help address the parking lot a little bit, so. So you'll see two piles over there. One is coming back here for us to use in town, dressing up shoulders and things like that. One will become part of their parking lot.
Anything else on road projects?
Well, it's not really a road project, but the new walkway in front of the library came out great.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I think, that, you know, this loam on either side that I think got seeded. But I think there should be some
Hay or something.
barriers there to keep people from walking across, because people walked right across it. I think we, you
Might
know,
have to
the whole thing
see.
looks great, but I think, I don't know if that's up to you or the library trustees, but it seems like we ought to be
Yeah, I can move.
stopping people from stepping on the,
Absolutely. So like what we did around the concrete pads over at Packard's, that material, we'll stick down on that so the grass has a chance to establish. We'll also stick some,
that's like in the
Snow
library, I mean,
markers.
in the cemetery too, that
Yep.
grass, yeah.
we'll put some snow markers in there just to keep people off of it.
Okay. Since we're
The-
talking about,
Yeah, the other road project,
Yep.
which isn't construction, but it's planning, that we've been doing is Boulder Path
right, we're
Road.
still waiting for,
So the
Town engineer to
is
give us
working on that,
options.
and he's working on the options.
yeah, are we looking at an October presentation or?
Probably,
Right.
and a second meeting in October, probably, and that includes a tie-in with the water and sewer lines.
Right.
And road work on Snows Mountain
Right.
Road. So that's just another
Two big projects coming up.
big
Right.
project.
All right, well, since we're talking about roads and projects, Craig, why don't I move you up? Because I believe your correspondence is at least tangentially related. You've asked to put a stone wall at the bottom of the 8th fairway. Why don't you just go ahead and tell
Yeah,
us?
I mean, how it's come about is that Dana White, who's doing the Green Pig Condo Complex, has a lot of stone over there. And I have an opportunity to get the stone for free. And I wanted to just put a stone wall behind the 8th green. Actually 21 feet from the edge of the pavement, but it would be on my property line per se. I consider it landscaping. And I think David looked at it and considers it a structure. In my experience in building codes on wood, stone foundations or stone walls is if you have put weight on it, then it is called a structure. Like a stone foundation or something like that, but a landscaping stone wall is not considered a structure per se. I don't wanna reinvent the world here, but 99%, maybe 100% of stone walls were property line delineations.
Mhm.
And if there was a historic stone wall on the property, you almost could not remove it. I'm trying to put one in. So I guess lack of a better word, like maybe to look at the zoning, but I looked at it 100 times and we can go back and forth on all these zoning things a little bit, but I consider it landscaping. And I should be able to landscape on my property how I see fit, I guess. But I just want to put a stone wall. Maybe 3.5 feet, maybe it says 3 feet, but that might be kind of very low. I'd like to do 1 row of rock, 2 rows of rock, and that'd be it.
How long would it be?
From one corner of the grass to one corner of the other grass, from
But
tree to tree.
Just to be able to,
150 feet, maybe.
150 feet?
I don't know, it's roughly in there. I got a plan here. I mean, you can show you, but I think it's a general idea.
Jim.
Right.
is
It
here.
is literally off the road. There's a couple other things that would kind of benefit everybody. One, Tina might get some balls in their yard because things can roll right over.
Mhm.
And this would kind of slow that down a little bit. The other thing with what you do with landscaping is that's really what you do with landscaping is kind of control your property a little bit. And that would help control some balls from going up onto the road. Also, it would help control people coming from the road, coming onto the property, basically trespassing. But it just almost welcomes you onto the road. And if you've got a little wall there, it would kind of common sense wise was like, I shouldn't be here. That kind of thing. And it also gives us a visual from hitting from the fairway to that green. It gives us a visual that helps you kind of hit a little bit more conservatively. And you're not aiming for Tina's house.
So
Okay.
as I understand it, if it was 3 feet, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't even be talking about that.
Hold on.
You would, because the definition in the zoning.
Yeah.
Is under structure says wall.
But
But it says 3
And-
feet.
As that said.
That for a fence.
It says.
No, that's for
anything-
a fence.
That's
That's
for
for
a
a fence.
Fence
the
is not a
3
wall or a
feet,
Fence.
The
A
wall,
stone wall can be a fence.
Yeah, right.
All right, I think what I'm looking for, I guess at best, if you really want to get right down to it, is a wink and a nod permit. So, I mean, is this that big of a deal? I mean, if you cannot put stone walls on your property. You know, I think, obviously, I think it's a big mistake in the zoning bylaws or whatever. But I think it's a little more technical. I mean, it's not a structure. By any definition, I don't need a building permit for it. It's not holding anything up. It's not anything but natural. You're allowed to do natural stone piles. Yeah.
but the issue here though is that because it is in our definition of structure,
No, it's not, but
okay,
you're
hold on.
confusing things.
No, it is very clear. It says walls, comma, fences more than 3 feet high, comma, etc., under the definition of structure. And then the setback for structures is 25 feet between the structure and the road right of way.
Cause this
A
is on a
measured
road.
distance from where
What
Craig has
I would say
proposed.
is that on your
Hold on.
property line, you would have to come in 25 feet onto your own property before you can start a fence.
from the
No,
road,
a
right?
wall or a fence higher than 3 feet
99%
high.
of your fences are.
No,
high.
I understand that, but unfortunately, that is the rule.
Right. but
I
there's
think everything that you've said makes perfect sense. And I've talked to Dave about it.
Well, that was my
and
other question. from
We
a
would
town standpoint.
support this just going to the ZBA
I know,
for a
this is way
dimensional.
more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, it needs to be because this is what is in the ordinance.
Have to say stone wall.
Okay. Well, anyway, the code enforcement officer, interpretation is that this is a structure under our definition of structure as he highlighted in your
Mhm.
packet. And his recommendation is that with a recommendation to approve, that it go to the ZBA for that dimensional relief from the 25-foot setback.
And under the zoning board of appeals, you would need a reason to go. And what is the reason? 'Cause
It's called a dimensional, it's called
self-implied hardship. So
No.
it doesn't necessarily apply.
No, it's a dimension, no, it's different than a variance, okay? It is called a dimensional relief, and the ZBA has the authority to say that you can build what you want to build, where you want to build it, even though it's only 21 feet and the setback's 25. They have that
It
ability.
says from the property line, so it doesn't say from
It
the
says
asphalt.
from the road.
It says the road right of
And that's
way,
the road where the
and
road.
that is the
The road right
boundary.
of way is 50
Yep.
feet, not the
And-
macadam. It is actually, if you say road
The
right of
ZBA.
way is the property lines.
Yeah, and the
So-
ZBA has the authority to grant you the ability to do that
And what
with
about
just
all the
a
other
vote.
fences in town? I mean, they're right on, I mean, the town has fences on property.
They may
lines.
have been existing at the time. I don't know about the other fences. I just know about
You
this
got split rail
particular.
fences all over the place that are literally on town property, that are on the property line.
I understand that, but I don't know the circumstances where they were.
Okay, I think the. It's quite clear, the provisions and
I don't think
Craig's
it's quite clear
position.
at all. It's really structures. A structure under the building code is something that this is a structure. Or a fence, or certain structures, but a stone wall is not a structure unless you
let me-
put something on top of it.
Let me get the select board to discuss it, Craig. I meant it was clear where your position is and what town staff's position is and what the code enforcement officer's position is, so. From the select board.
It sounds like there's a really straightforward way for Craig to achieve this if it goes to the ZBA with a recommendation from.
The building office will work. We can
Mhm.
support
Yeah.
Craig's intent to it, because we agree with, the balls.
As the abutter and the owner of
Everything's
the
a good
road.
idea. This is a good idea to do. It's
Just the
just,
wrong- just the
we
wrong
need
place
to.
to come.
The
Yeah.
language that's in
Yeah.
the zoning.
Okay,
Well, I think you should just do the ZBA. I mean, I think we all,
Every time I change a light bulb, I should not be coming to town hall here to change a light bulb. This is a landscape item.
but we don't have the
Very
authority to do a wink.
Very-
We don't have
very
the authority to
cut
do a
clear.
wink and a nod.
I mean, you're
I think it's gonna be easy
I'm
enough
trying
to,
to improve the property.
we,
and all
everybody
you do
agrees.
Is put me to permits. I have more permits than anybody in the world over there.
I think we all agree.
What, I have more permits than anybody else?
No, that it's a good idea to do it.
But I don't have time to be.
right, but, and we don't have the authority, there's no such thing as a wink and a nod permit, it's
You
pretty,
could call it non-structure, first of all.
well, but.
And you could say that the intent of the bylaw was not to inhibit people from landscaping their properties.
I don't see, frankly, Craig, I don't see how we get around structure. Anything constructed or erected with a fixed
If you're gonna
location,
change the bylaws every 10 minutes, why
I'm
don't
not
you change this?
change, well, I can't do that either.
You're changing how many different?
This is this is
town
what,
meeting?
okay, but this is the zone, and that could be done if you want to propose changing, taking walls out of the definition of structure, then
So maybe that's.
come to the,
Everybody in
come
the
to the
world
planning
takes it out
board.
of structure. It's not, you go to any other town, they're not calling it a
So
structure.
just. So
Yeah, I,
talk to the planning board about that.
I think, we can, I mean, as the rep to the planning board for the select board, I can certainly raise it.
There's a ton of landscaping going on in this town and they're not structures. They're allowed to landscape their property. There's retaining walls on all these new houses.
But that's.
But
part
they're
of
not
their
within,
building.
they're within.
There
the
are, some of
setback.
them come to the very end of the property lines and they do touch.
If any
Alright.
new ones are coming through.
You're permitting all kinds of stuff. on
I
this.
think
Send out
I-
multiple-
All right, I'd like to bring it to an end. We cannot do what you're asking us to do here, Craig. I'm sorry. I don't understand what the difficulty is in going to the
I have
ZBA.
Like 60 hours a week to do permitting.
I think we're saying go to the ZBA
And
and,
that requires all kinds of stuff and and probably 2 meetings, because nobody can decide anything in 1 meeting. I was asked to come here to maybe relinquish this, and that's why I'm here. This is obviously a complete waste of time. I just think, landscaping is not part of the building code enforcement
Okay.
item,
Fine.
period.
all right,
And if you think it is, then where do you draw the line here, folks?
Well, I'm gonna draw the line on the definition of structure and
Well,
zoning.
the town has
So,
structured things on their property lines, so
I-
they're not.
well, we're
maintaining it.
discussing your plans, Craig, not other instances, what may or may not exist. So, I have nothing else to say. Either board member want to say anything further on it?
I think the pathway's really clear for you to get what you want, just to do the ZBA. I'm
And
sure
that we would
admin-
support it.
admin would-
I don't wanna spend, I'd rather spend the time putting the wall in, not getting the front out, per se, on something I don't believe is a structure. I mean, if I put geraniums up, I mean, where do we draw the line here?
Well,
I-
geranium wouldn't,
If I have a
Injure
fence post
someone
that's
if they're
more than
running
3 feet high, what is that? I mean, I think we're just picking at things here very, very quickly. You're just picking at stuff. I did it what you said to do. I should have just put the damn thing in and just said the hell with it. But no, you want us to go, this is what you want me to do, and then I asked for permission, which I think is very clear and very common sense. I don't see why anybody can't say, yeah, that's a good idea.
That someone
Let's just do
can,
it.
someone can say, it's the ZBA. We cannot. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. Transfer station project update.
The transfer station, lights have been installed.
It'd be great for a little outdoor ice hockey. rink.
Yeah, no.
No, the
It's
lights
gonna have
and
a
the big,
fence and
no, all right.
it's gonna have a fence and a lot of stuff inside the fence. So, fence did not happen today. They were waiting for the delivery of the gates.
you want to put
there.
a fence without gates?
Yeah, so,
So the
We couldn't
old,
get
does
in
the
there.
old fence go back and it's a new one that comes
yeah,
in?
yeah. So the old fence was mobile.
Yeah, this is
This
temporary.
this is, a permanent fence, so that should start tomorrow. That's what we've been told. So, as soon as that fence gets installed and the gates get installed, we'll start bringing the connexes and the, dumpsters back in and start setting it up. So it's moving along. Anything else to add?
It will be usable. We can drive over it soon. I mean, I think you had a 2-week period where we didn't want cars
Oh, yeah,
driving over
no, the pavement is set up.
So once the
enough.
fence is in,
Absolutely.
we'll be good to go.
Yes.
And then we just get all
And
the
in the
extra stuff.
interim, we have 2 dumpsters that are on the other side of the
Right.
garage.
Right.
And we bring the truck in if those are full.
So we're thinking maybe next week we'll be up and running,
And
We
the-
certainly
and the-
hope so.
And just the gate, the entrance gate moves closer to the building.
It does, yes.
It does.
okay. I think I see a hand. Yes.
I was just wondering, is there any activity going to happen on the Tecumseh Road side that kind of, or are we just gonna let?
Yes, I'm glad you asked, because we talk about this practically every meeting. We're still waiting on a big concrete culvert, or is it finally? You got that.
Mid-October, we
Okay.
have, the date that they were given was the second or third
Week of October. Is that as solid as the
That's
August date?
solid.
we were
No,
given?
that is their delivery date,
Right,
their expected delivery date of the culvert.
so that's
So we've been
that's what's held us
waiting
up. We gotta put
for
this culvert in,
culvert.
and then we'll finish that project,
Including landscaping.
Yes.
yeah. Which may be a little touch and go, I mean, mid-October, but we'll get, we'll at least clean it up as best we can for the winter, and that's gonna include, and that includes the paving project, pave that area for the laydown for the wastewater
The
treatment. facility.
entrance
Yeah.
road, yeah.
So that's been an issue with us for some time, waiting for that culvert, which one questions whether or not we really needed a culvert there.
The transfer station, do we know yet, or is it still?
As long-term as we can see right now, it'll stay there. That's why we're putting a permanent fence in. The actual construction of the treatment facility is probably 5-6 years down the road before it's finished. And then some remediation of the old plant will have to be removed and the lagoons will have to be addressed, whether we take the material out or whatever we do there. But, you know, so you're talking 5, 7, 10 years down the road before everything is done. So it'll be a while.
Are we gonna move the brush pile down here? Or are we gonna still leave it up
We
there?
don't really know. We haven't, we actually started talking about that today, whether we chip or whether we move the burn pile. It'll depend on what is the usable land from the Tyrell land that we purchased,
Right,
where the contractor's storage yard is.
right.
How much of that needs to be used for the treatment facility, and so
Okay,
there are a lot of variables still.
When
So-
you had the chipper before in the spring, I
Mm-hmm.
believe it was, and there were a couple of piles, and I
Yeah.
put the word out, people could come and take.
Mm-hmm.
Did most people come and take the
Yeah.
piles? So they were good, because I know I helped myself to them a couple of times.
Yeah, we only had about a bucket load of the Bobcat and skid steer left of chippings.
So investing in a chipper instead of having to burn, could that completely replace burning? Chipping everything?
As long as,
There are storage requirements. You gotta have concrete pad or solid
for the chip,
pad
right.
for the chips, and
Okay.
you
Right.
gotta have drainage needs to be addressed and that
Sure.
sort of thing. But yes, we can look at
Mhm.
chipping instead of burning.
No.
Yep.
Maybe it's something your working group can,
Might be.
yeah. It's municipal solid waste of a sort.
Yep.
Alrighty, a wastewater treatment facility schedule update. So it looks like we're getting closer and closer.
Yeah, so September 30th.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have a draft technical memo delivered to us by Black and Beach. We'll review that with Black and Beach. As long as there's no major issues on the town's behalf or the engineering firm's behalf. What we'd like to do from that point is schedule a kind of meeting in tandem with DES to review it with us and make sure that we get their input before we move any further, and make sure that there's no major conflict on their end. Just to make sure that is seamless from this point on, because realistically, this is going to be essentially the I don't want to call it blueprint because things are going to move around. So this is really just a layout with a view of the technologies that are going to be in the wastewater treatment facility on a aerial map, if you will, just to kind of make sure that we understand the full footprint. They're going to be working on refining life cycle costs, things of that nature. Level of effort is what they call their overall cost estimate.
Mhm.
And then, of course, following the October 7th meeting will be the October 14th meeting, which would be as long as DES, again, doesn't have any complaints or issues with what Black and Beach is recommending. That would be a meeting that would come to the select board. And we would have a discussion with town staff.
Of the two options that,
That we provided to, which are membrane bioreactor and conventional activated sludge.
right, yeah, I remember the process from before. That'd be a special meeting then on the 14th.
Mhm.
I think 16th.
Well, the around that date,
Right.
so you
Alright.
can we can settle that
I
when you
think what
get
you're
back.
trying to
Okay.
maintain is a week gap. Or, roughly the week gap in between those meetings, and just try to make sure that it's fresh in everyone's mind and we don't lose any progress or anything of that nature. But all in all, again, they're working diligently. And they certainly are. I'm looking forward to seeing what they present to us.
So what is the expected outcome from the board at that meeting?
So most likely, at least this is what I envision anyhow. They're going to be looking for a direction on which of the two is the
Okay.
list. I think, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have an answer at that meeting, because I truly believe that even after they present it to us, there's going to have to be discussion without the engineering firm just to try to soak everything in. I don't think it's wise to make a decision that day. We're talking about a huge, you know, probably a facility that's gonna last at least 50 years, if not longer, without any upgrade, you know, depending upon the growth in the town. Again, I think it's gonna be wise to go to that meeting with an open mind, listen to everything, take it all in, and then kind of think about it for maybe a week. Again, I'll defer to Mark on that, but we can get back to Black and Beach. It's not like it's gonna hold them up at all, in terms of moving past that, because as they've discussed with us, there's a bunch of the other facilities surrounding the main secondary treatment, tertiary treatment that are going to be better refined as time goes on. So it shouldn't hold them up at all. I mean, and truly, it's really not going to dictate neither the membrane bioreactor or conventional activated sludge. It's not going to dictate what those supporting facilities are.
Okay,
It'll work either way. So.
all right. Look forward to the discussion, our presentation, I should say. Any comment from?
But by the end of October,
Yes.
we will need to make a final decision. This
Right.
is the
Which
process.
direction
Which direction? it's
This
going,
is the
right,
process.
got it.
And
That's what
that,
they
that
expected.
keeps us roughly on track, probably about 3 or 4 weeks behind their timeline. But we're in the ballpark.
All right. Anything else on update? Pond dredging project update.
We, I've had an update meeting with the engineering firm, with Horizons Engineering. We are, moving forward with, trying to set up a meeting with, DES, to do some, here's our concept, we want to dredge the pond, here's roughly what we want to do. What are your concerns from DES standpoint? Get some feedback from them. Talk in some detail about the detention basin and our idea about having something that we can clean out every year. Explain to them the future development constraints that we're going to have, and make sure that the design work that Horizons is working on right now for the pond is the right direction, and that DES isn't gonna derail us
Right.
several months down the road.
Is it possible to move that along enough so that we could have that as a warrant item for this
Yeah,
year?
our goal, they're gonna refine, so they've given us those 6 options, right, with the estimated
Right.
price.
Yeah.
We've told them that we want to do the drying
Right.
area adjacent to the pond. They're gonna refine that number so that we have a warrant article for town meeting 2025. And the intent would be to get that authorization for the amount. And then they will do final design and actually do a bidding process over the summer next year. And then move into construction either in the spring or in the fall.
Of
2026.
26.
Yeah.
And we
And
discussed
that
this.
was okay with the resort.
Yeah, we discussed. the entire route.
Timing wise. So.
And the use of their land to.
The use of their land for the drying laydown area.
Right.
The
They have the
reason
weddings.
for either the spring or the fall would be that the town would not have to deal with it during the summer peak season. We're not sure that DES will permit the spring because of the
I
unknowns
think the
with the
fall
weather.
makes a lot more
And-
sense.
So too.
It did, probably from a permitting standpoint, will be forced into that. The resort would rather have the spring because we've got a 90 to 100 day work period that the engineers have estimated, and we would be cutting into a lot of the fall peeper time and stuff like that. So the spring from the resort standpoint is preferable, but I don't know if we can get that permitted.
I think the risk you run in the spring is you get a rainy spring, and
Yeah.
you're still doing it in July and August.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Whereas
that's,
if you start
Mhm.
Labor Day, I
yeah,
think you're much better off.
yep, and that's our approach.
Yeah, and
And
we've told Tyrell that, they're not hard over on the
No, they're
spring.
not
just-
hard.
they
They just would like us to ask.
So is the drying area on the beach or farther?
No,
back?
it'll be
Where the
at the
pergola is.
pergola, at the wedding
Wedding
area
venue.
where it was before.
Good thing Katie's already married.
Sorry, one other question. Does this also include, the plan for the erosion down from?
On Snow's Brook, no,
No.
that's a separate project that we talked about and approved last meeting, and we've got a contract now. That will be, that work, right now, if the Forest Service gives us final approval, will be done in 2025,
Oh, okay.
which is actually a good setup time-wise.
Okay, great, thank you.
And is that where the catch bait?
No, that's.
No, the
part
catch
of
basin will be where we talked about it, the original one at where the stream comes
Comes
into
in.
the pond on the west side of the bridge.
But at one point you were talking about doing
We
something.
wanted, there will be remediation work that'll be done in the stream itself that's further up to the east.
That's just a separate
Just
project.
to-
But that's a separate
Is that
project.
just to?
That's to
avoid
slow the
erosion?
water down and avoid erosion and to settle out some of the material further up
Okay.
the stream so that less material is getting to the pond.
And then hopefully we'll have a silt trap or
A
whatever.
stilt trap, a detention basin.
Basin.
Where the stuff settles out, and we'll have an ongoing permit in that basin to clean that out every year so that we don't have to
So
build up.
Dredging will become a thing beyond us. I hope, right?
Yeah, we hope.
We hope. Yeah, so we're going to have a warrant article on the dredging. We're gonna have a hefty warrant article on Boulder Path, which potentially
And
will
Snow's
include
Mountain.
water and sewer relocation, and Snow's another one on Snow's Mountain.
Yeah.
Which will include not only a rebuild, but definitely new water lines and a town decision on sewer.
Yep.
So town meeting 2025.
Bring a lunch.
But the bulk of the money for the tour has been approved, correct?
Not what, so the project, yes, the treatment plant itself is all authorized, we hope. We'll be getting,
Yes.
closer to those numbers now. But what we're talking about with the water and sewer lines is Snow's Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Road. That's just, that'd be a
And we haven't
separate
done that.
project.
Yeah,
All right, if there's nothing else on old business, let me move along. Department head reports, Jim, since you've already engaged a bit, would you like to continue?
You should have a copy of our bi-weekly report from
We do, I do, yeah, looking at it.
Noise. Just a couple highlights out of it. Call activity on all the sites have been fairly steady for this time of year. Some kind of complex medical calls that the guys have handled pretty well. Dave and I have been working on the Medicare update, so that's making sure that all the paperwork's going on the billing side and that translates into the revenue side that you guys see.
Mhm.
So we're getting squared away on that. Couple.
Just a quick on that, I don't know if it's direct or an indirect, but what's the status of being paid directly as opposed to money going to the patient and then to us?
So the law went into effect, so insurance companies can no longer send a check to an individual patient instead of sending the check directly to the.
So it'll come to the town directly,
Yes.
which is
It's
what we
gonna-
want.
Well, it's gonna come to.
well,
our-
it'll go to our billing
It's gonna
company.
come to our.
A billing
Yeah.
company who would then pay the bill, use it to pay the bill.
Because historically what happened before is an insurance company would write a check to an individual and it would say or. So it would have the patient's name or, and then a town.
Hmm.
The person could hold that check and not pay for their ambulance service.
So we'd have to run after them with a bill collector.
Yes, we'd have to chase them down and in some cases not get paid on the service. So that law
Okay,
has
good,
changed.
good.
And it's benefit
Right.
for us. The ambulance was out of service and luckily Jason had recommended that we take the ambulance up to Littleton. They did a quick repair. They had the part in stock. We got it back within a day. So that was huge. Mahindra is back in service. Jason located a transmission. We had an output shaft have a failure. So he was able to get that back in service for us pretty quickly. We're in the middle of our life safety inspection season, so that's keeping us pretty steady along with regular construction inspections. So right now we're going through all the commercial properties. Next week we're starting in Town Square, trying to get the main building done in there. For training wise, I was on vacation, but the guys trained with the FBI and some EOD units from across the area up at the mountain last week. So that was a great,
Took care of the dirty bomb.
yeah, a great training for them. Zach is very passionate in the peer-to-peer crisis intervention, so he attended a 3-day training on that. So that's really good. If one of us
Yeah.
has an issue from a call, we can go to Zach and it's all confidential. And then Zach can steer towards help for us. And he can also assist with if someone comes to a police officer and says, I'm having this issue, he's great at de-escalating and getting the person the resources they need. And one other item that didn't make it on our bi-weekly is the guys held a CPR class at the library and they had another 20 people attend. So in the 2 sessions, we had over 40 people attend. So 20 people in the library is a lot of people.
Yeah.
In that space to teach a class, but it was a great turnout. If you guys have any questions from.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, I was just gonna ask, I take it we haven't heard back from the Forest Service District Supervisor. I'm thinking of the emergency, you know, to the letter we sent.
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Seeing we're talking about public safety, I'd like to mention that Todd Baldwin died. Todd was the, I believe, deputy fire chief, probably in the maybe the late 60s, all the 70s, probably all the 80s. Lived in Chickenboro, right down by the campground.
Yeah.
91 years old. His wife Cynthia is still alive. She's 93, I believe. Todd started Tecumseh Inn, which is now the Silver Fox. And I think it was the first inn that was opened after the Waterville Inn burned down. So it was the first lodging that became available once the Waterville Inn was gone. He also had Tecumseh Service Company, which is like Will Lambert's organization now. Back then, he plowed roads, did everything back in the day. So, and he was quite a guy, a real gentleman. So he died on Sunday. So
Yeah, correct.
He was Trout Unlimited, I don't know whether I don't know if he founded it or was a president, but he was very involved with Trout Unlimited.
Absolutely.
He started the chapter of Trout Unlimited.
Chris Hall just talks about him here.
Yeah.
He was
Is there-
instrumental in the Gusto Cup.
Is there a ceremony or something that
Yeah,
we
there's a
could?
celebration of life on November 1st at the barn in Plymouth. And the calling hours are at the funeral home in Ashland. 4 to 6 on Friday and 1 to 3 on Saturday this weekend. He's quite a guy. He had the smallest fire boots. So you looked at in the fire station, all the boots and all the coats were lined up. And his fire boots were tiny. And everybody used to say he had the smallest boots, but the biggest heart.
Good. We can send something to the celebration or the funeral. Okay, let's
Actually,
see.
flowers on behalf of the town to them
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah, no,
We'll get it.
okay. Megan,
Well, it's been a very busy time for me. We've been getting roads paved. And transfer station paved, lights in. Working on other mowing, we were mowing the ditch line of Goose Run, before paving happened. Jason's always mowing, staying on top of that. But, most of my updates were in new and old business, so.
okay,
Other than getting ready for snow. So, been getting the files back out and getting everything ready. So,
Do you have a date for the new truck yet?
this week.
Yeah.
Delivered.
any questions for Megan? No. All right, thank you. Hello, Dylan again.
So this week, was one of our quarterly wet tests. Today's the second day of it, Friday will be the last day of it. So we have that going on, a little bit shorthanded. My dad was able to go on a well-deserved vacation, although it ended up not really being a vacation in his end. He ended up having all sorts of issues while I was on vacation, so anyhow, the tank was there anyhow. But week prior to this, we had all sorts of tech-related issues. We had data-related issues, we had internet-related issues, phone lines were down for multiple days. So luckily, we were able to finally, with the assistance of Steve, and we had to I had to pick Mark's brain to figure out where our modem was. The modem actually for the wastewater treatment plant phone lines are actually in the town hall. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
There's a
Powerful
line. Just
Oh,
a-
oh.
Yeah, it's quite,
Not Wi-Fi.
No,
it's-
yeah.
quite was quite a mess. Anyhow, so that's all resolved now. But just keeping up with some maintenance. In the headworks, we had the micro strainer down. Just had to do some PM on that, just to make sure that thing keeps chugging along, no problem. And otherwise, just keeping on. So
Do you want to talk about the DES webinar
sure.
on lead and copper?
Absolutely. So what that is, October 3rd is a webinar surrounding, there's a new regulation that, well, not regulation, Rich, you can speak to it better than I can in terms of the actual language surrounding it. It's a unfunded
Mandate,
That's
unfunded mandate,
Yes. Forcing all communities in the United States of America.
right, I remember you mentioning this
Yes.
a while back.
Essentially, their ultimate goal is over the next decade to make sure that all lead in anywhere in the distribution system is removed. This webinar is about us contacting all the, and by us, it's, again, this is New Hampshire DES putting on, so all of the water districts and communities, municipalities in the state will be at least consuming this in some way, shape, or form. Because this is going to be the template that they provide to us to reach out to the customers, that essentially just let them know that this is coming down the road, and to expect that the townships or municipalities, again, districts, are going to be looking for cooperation on their behalf as well.
So the new requirements from EPA are to identify not only within our town-owned distribution pipes, but every service line into a house or a building, any line, what it is made of, whether or not there is any lead in it,
Or galvanized.
or galvanized. So it is a very extensive program, and we're gonna get some additional information on October 3rd. Because part of the requirements are a communication to all the water customers in the system.
Yeah,
So,
and it's pretty, to Mark's point, it's really, really in depth. I mean, it's something as simple as even lead solder.
Yeah.
It can be all copper
Sure.
pipe if it has lead solder, and the entire this, the entire lateral or service line has to be removed and replaced. It's that in depth, so, again, you know, fingers crossed that there's a way forward to figure this out, but I physically, and I can't comprehend how the entire state, just of New Hampshire, being as rural as it is in a lot of areas, has enough contractors to do this work in that time frame.
Yeah,
Right?
they
You
want
think
us
about-
to dig it up. And
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the actual work of removing it, it's also installation and remediation, and bringing it back to
Yeah.
the condition that it was in, you know, we're including roads into that. It's a whole mess, so, I can understand the intent behind it, it's well intended, but, I haven't seen a good roadmap for how it's gonna be carried out in a successful manner, so.
we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it, unless you have any questions for me.
I'm good. Any questions from the rest of the board? Nope. Steve, Administrative Services, what's up?
So as you folks know, a couple of weeks ago now, we had a state primary. So I just wanted to commend Sharon for all her hard work and pulling that together, as well as all.
Yeah,
of the
she does it in her sleep now, right?
Election officials, and the way that Sharon termed this primary was kind of like a dry live.
Oh,
run
Yeah.
For November, so
We might have a few more people come in November.
I would expect that, absolutely. But great job to everybody involved. I think it went off without a hitch, as it normally does. We have, I've had a few vendors come into town hall to look at replacing some flooring. This carpet here in our meeting room, as well as the carpet that's up in the administrative areas. So we've selected a vendor to help us do that. And they will be out in late November, early December timeframe. Might impact us here at town hall for a day. Office hours might be adjusted a little bit, or we may have to close given all of the work that they'll be doing. So more to come on that. We'll post it on the website. As Dylan had alluded to, we had a IT week of chaos last week for some reason, when it rains it pours, I guess, but we had phone systems go down, internet go down at the wastewater treatment plant. We had phone problems here.
Computers.
Computer issues, so we've kind of tightened up all the computer issues right now, and as far as a resolution for our phone systems, we are looking at getting some quotes for a voice over IP service rather than the analog system that we have here today. So what that would do essentially is our phone systems would run off of the internet, the Ethernet, kind of get upgraded into that kind of a platform, allow department heads to get calls on their computers, on their cell phones if they need to, allow us to have voicemails transcribed into emails if we'd like. So Mark, Sharon, and I have a meeting in early October with a consultant to kind of see what that whole process will look like and cost. So more to come on that. We have, it's audit season, I guess, while our financial audit is winding down. We did get good results back from that audit. The one management recommendation that they have made is that the town looks at how we develop our water and sewer rates. So backing into that point system that the town
Right, yeah.
established eons ago is very challenging for our auditors to do, given that we have a lot of paper records or
Right.
of how that system was established. So they're just recommending we relook at that, and Bill and Mark and I will be doing that tomorrow, actually, so.
Right. And I think we already intended
We
to,
already.
just part of the whole,
Yeah.
right,
We're just
simplifying
gonna
the
finalize
process.
what we had talked about before,
right,
linking it to the assessing records so the others can
right,
see.
and vastly simplifying the
Mhm.
the
Yep.
process or the designations of things, right?
And the lovely state of New Hampshire retirement system decided to give us an audit as well, so I've been digging through some time card personnel records and whatnot to fulfill that requirement. We have talked about flooring and the election. I think that's it on my list, unless you guys had any questions.
Anything?
Nope.
Megan, did I see your,
Yeah, well, I actually have
Tango?
two other things that I forgot about, and I got in my paper.
Yeah.
But I do know we met with the.
I mean, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The town co-working group.
yeah,
I know there was some confusion with the bicycle emblem inside the circle, so.
right,
I made this as a possibility wanted to get y'all's thoughts on it as well, so.
So the intent is whether it's the filled in section or just the outline, all of this would be the cutout. And
Right,
it would be in a circle like the one that we painted the example on Valley Road. And this would be the one for the multi-use path. And then you would have the bike with chevrons, regular ones that you see in
Right.
other towns.
but share the road signs.
That
every
share
so
the
often.
road signs and all that,
Yeah,
so.
just to jump up, well,
Yeah.
let's discuss this first and then.
Yep.
One other
So
comment. from
the
group.
intent was to meet what Bob's comments and others from the town core working group comments, so that we had the clarification that it was for inexperienced or young
Mhm.
bicycle riders in the multi-use path with families and pedestrians. So that's what we're trying to get across with
Is
this.
that a lot to put in one circle?
I think,
So what I had done originally was a 2 foot by 2 foot stencil, so it was really only about 1.5 foot
circle.
circle
Is that
diameter.
the same size?
That's what's out there now.
Mhm.
So I
But you
think
could
we
go
could,
bigger.
I think we could go a little bit bigger and make this section here actually 2 feet.
And actually, in our discussion at the town core working group, there were a couple of other thoughts. As we talked about it as a group, there was concern that while having the bicycle icon on the outer part, along the travel roadway,
Mhm.
while the intent was understood, there was concern it would cause too much clutter and confusion, and that an experienced bicyclist would know that that's where they should be. So we don't necessarily, if this,
I agree with that.
if the
Okay.
icon were clear in the multi-use path, then the
There's no need
bicycle
for a
would not be
bicycle.
needed, right,
Yeah.
on the travel way.
Certainly makes
So-
it easier maintaining it going
Right.
forward.
And
So
it's the type
that's
of thing
great.
where we could add to gradually, if we started with just
Yeah.
this.
Right.
And found
Yeah,
that that
that's
wasn't
right.
sufficient,
If
we
you
could
found
always
this
add
wasn't
the other,
working, then you could,
right?
You didn't think of maybe just one, like at the very entrance of town, something like that, as people come in?
I mean, I think that would probably,
We
Yeah,
could add it
be
later.
fine.
We have the stencil for
Mhm.
the bicyclist if we find that there's a problem.
Okay,
right, yeah,
Fine.
that is a really high,
yes, when you first come into
Impact
town, they'll
area.
see it, they'll see
Sure.
this and they'll see that, and hopefully that will stick.
well,
Throughout the town.
my concern is also just making sure the vehicles are aware.
Right, but that they're a
That it's a share
bicyclist.
the road
Yeah.
thing, so I think however we can.
Do we have
drive
a
that
share the
line.
road at the beginning of town? I think
It's
we
pretty
do.
Yes,
close
we
to the
do.
Yes,
beginning.
we do.
Yeah, I think we do, okay.
The other thought the group had, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels about this, but was to have arrows or some sort of delineation within the multi-use pathway, just to indicate that this type of usage would be expected going in both directions. Ian had suggested just a dotted line.
I mean, all
Others-
the way,
Well, at intervals, he says that the dotted line all the way, and then the arrows came up as more of an interval type thing. I don't know if that's necessary or not. Again, these things we could probably add.
I'd start simple with just
Yeah.
this and then.
I'd start simple.
yeah, no,
Keep
I,
it,
yeah,
because, and again, we can do whatever we want.
sure.
It's going to be the question of maintaining it. And making sure that, they're readable all the time and all that. So I think the simpler we can keep it, the better.
I agree.
So start with this and then we'll go.
Get this
from-
icon up
Go
and,
from there.
Which icon, the one that, the one.
This one,
that's been made
both
now?
of,
We
yeah,
have a painter, so if this
Yeah.
is the one we're gonna use.
Yeah.
Sure.
just a matter of where,
Well, at all the major
at
intersections,
the
right?
ends, at the
At the
ends
crosswalks.
of the crosswalks. For right now, in the multi-use path,
right,
will be this.
right,
It'll be slightly larger than a half again, as large as the one that we have down there
Right.
now. No, a quarter again, as big.
Well, half again or even
Half
twice, I
again.
think,
Like,
I
you
mean,
did
half
twice
again.
exactly 2 foot.
2
So it'll
feet.
be a 2 foot diameter.
Circle.
Or if you don't want the circle, it can be just like this, just the people.
It can be this 2 feet across. Why don't we start that? Why don't we do that rather than the circle?
I think it's clear without the circle, so if that's,
You okay with this 2
Yep.
feet across?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 feet across. Good.
And then just to be able to mail something out, with the water and sewer bills. And especially at the start of the year, I made a 2025 transfer station calendar. And then it has some verbiage at the bottom, just giving some information to residents or whoever may read this. We have the normal days, our normal hours maybe are in blue, so obviously that's all the way down. I have yellow as an additional or an alternate day to holidays, and then I have the holidays in there where we are closed.
What's the, are those select board meetings?
No, those are the regular days we're open.
No,
Right.
what are the squares
So
in,
the red
on
squares
Wednesdays?
Brush drop off.
yeah,
So I
the
have
key is
them-
at the top.
Oh, I see, oh, I see.
Just a quick question about the
Yep.
fees. So you note that at the bottom of the slip, it gives directions of how to pay the fee. Residents and contractors pay upon drop off. So are there other ways that the fees will be paid by other people? By other,
So that's the large items, so like on the slip.
yep,
So, I mean, we are looking at, having card capabilities, but I mean, just so
Sure.
that they're aware, because right now we're running into the issue, where people still, like contractor wise, are still thinking that they do not have to pay, that they're being billed.
Right,
And
but
that is not the case.
but I guess my question is, are there people other than residents and contractors who would be dropping off large items?
I mean, I have some people who come in who are staying at their parents' home and they're renovating it. They're not necessarily like residents, but
So they would be billed?
no, they would still have to pay, but that's
So then everyone
kind of
has
the thing.
to.
It is
Yeah,
everybody.
we'll,
I can change.
we'll make it customers pay
Right,
rather than
yeah,
the
because it says it gives
residents. and con-
directions of how.
The issue that we had was the
Mhm.
differentiation, like contractors, like she said,
Right.
the
No, I
work
remember
crew that
yeah.
comes in didn't realize that they would have to pay, where we used to bill people.
Right,
We're trying to get the payment done.
no, yeah,
At the
I
time.
understand that, I just
And
wasn't
so
sure
that's
if
why
this
we
was a good idea.
specified residents and contractors.
Right, so I just wasn't sure that the directions of how to pay the fee was even,
Or,
like
But
it just
everyone
seems,
must pay upon drop off.
yeah,
Yeah.
all users pay upon drop off.
I just don't
Yeah.
want like
Yeah.
people from out of
No,
town. coming in.
absolutely.
I mean.
Authorized
there's-
users.
yeah.
yeah,
All users,
Yeah, just say all.
Yeah.
because the user implies,
Contractor, resident,
Authorized,
they're and they're
yeah.
authorized.
do the, holiday, is that meant to be closed?
Yeah,
Do you wanna
The
say-
actual holiday itself, we're closed, we're
So,
open
yeah.
that next day.
Right, so if-
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the key, do we wanna put after holiday and the key parents closed, just to make it plain?
Oh, 2025 holidays, parentheses closed.
Well, yeah, you just have the holiday key at the very top.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can just put parentheses at it closed,
Closed.
so that
Got
it's,
it.
people can look at it right away.
Yeah.
And the yellow,
The yellow are the days that we are open in lieu
of the
the
holiday,
holiday.
right,
and it just happens to only occur twice.
It's only twice,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And next year Thanksgiving will move and it'll be
Yes,
different. each
exactly,
year.
no, exactly,
And Christmas, yeah.
I think that's very professional.
yeah, I mean, I'm fine with you, I mean, it's just another open day, I mean, you could just make it blue. So that The blue is the open days
It's-
and the,
It's not a normal hour.
Yeah.
The
day,
blue
like,
is the normal.
I wanna be able to distinguish
Hours
that
of
those additional
operation.
days will be 8 to 3.
okay, well then is that, the 8 to 3 is what you have
Yep,
Yeah.
as
but-
opposed to normal days, right?
yep.
Are we gonna put the hours on here on normal days? We're gonna be that, we got closed, we got 8 to 3, it gets busy.
Well, in
I mean,
the,
this does get busy, but
yes, and
it's a
so
one-stop shop
we
for
have
everybody.
we will have signage for our normal hours of operation, and in case those change, you know, this template doesn't need to be changed as well. We can change the sign, and it's just a normal hours of operation. That was
Mhm.
the approach.
Do you want to add the website with or instead of the phone number? Would that be easier than fielding a lot of questions? Is it easier for folks to get the information from the website?
This,
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
all right.
find it easier, even, I tell them
and
it's
it's
on the
nice.
website, and they're like, I looked, and I'm like.
This
okay,
helps,
it's
I
easier.
gotcha.
this
Okay.
helps by putting this phone number on here. We're gonna hopefully cut down the telephone traffic
Mhm,
to the
Gotcha.
office staff,
Okay.
because this goes directly to Mike.
mhm.
So it's much easier for Sharon, rather than have Sharon or Alicia try to find them.
Great, okay.
So the hours, if there are changes, people just have to, we'll just have to notice that, so people
Yeah.
understand normal hours change for whatever reason.
Yeah, for whatever. reason.
Weather, sickness.
Yeah, yeah.
Machine breaks, whatever.
Yep, and those would be normal announcements that we would make anyway. We're gonna try to find some sort of notification conduit, like the 411 system, have another number that we can have for DPW information, the way DPS
Okay.
does. So we'll try to figure that out.
All right. Thank you, Megan. Very good. Rec.
Rec update, is, yep. She had another appointment she had to go to. The holiday lights, we replaced a plug, outlet. So, at the ice arena, so that, you know, the, holiday light, program could go on the building. And Wendy can address any other issues with the holiday lights. Boats have been slow over the weekends despite the beautiful weekend. I did notice, on the occupancy report that numbers have been down, so that may be reflective of it. But they have been underperforming where we thought they would be, for this time of the fall. And, you know, that, I think that's just a matter of the occupancy. And then the after-school program is in full swing. And it's going along well. We have 11 students currently enrolled on a regular basis for after school, which was slightly higher. I think we were projecting either 6 or 8 was what she was expecting up front.
Okay. The only question I had on the holiday lights is I presume this is within the $5,000/$7,000
Yeah.
budget.
Mhm.
It just didn't say. Yeah.
You know, this is just everything.
What contemplated?
What's those, the three pages of lights all over town?
That's
What
the
is-
holiday.
That's the full,
That's the
There was no
full
heading
program.
on that. I didn't know where it
I'm
came
sorry,
from.
yeah,
yeah, it's just because we, in the past, Stacy, who had worked at Town Square, had kind of overseen all of it, and with her departure, it's been sort of fractioned off where different people, as you can see from the contact person, are responsible from the different areas. So Brooks just brought it all together, it looks like, so we can kind of get an idea of what
Who's
look
responsible
at.
for what parts of the
So
program,
all those responsible people have agreed to those lights in that,
Right,
or to be responsible?
or they have the contracts, like for the athletic club, it shows what they're gonna be doing.
Right.
Yeah, Golden Eagle, Golf Course, Snowy Owl, etc.
okay?
Will she still be working on getting us the comparisons of the boats?
Yes, yeah.
Any other questions for Rick?
I have a couple things that I didn't know would
Sure.
either be under rec. Mark, I don't know if you're gonna touch on it, Saturday's Run for Fallen, so TPS is gonna have a presence around. On Sunday, the mountain race. So we'll be up there,
Sunday, what?
they're gonna be doing the run on the mountain. And then Jugtown is doing their pig roast, so
Pig roast.
On Sunday.
floating around.
I had someone ask me today, why the town wasn't looking for volunteers to stand by signs. I
We
said-
have been.
I
saying-
I said,
Yeah,
I think we are,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I referred
we are.
them to,
We have a sign up list at the town office
Right.
and we,
Yeah.
those volunteers will be either helping guide people around the course or standing by
right.
the
I
signs.
think they may have gotten confused with the signs put up for donation,
Oh, yeah,
around-
right.
Right, and that's definitely,
That's okay. They're going to use other organizations for any money that
Right,
they
but
collect.
the resort
Yeah.
newsletter was
I
still
know,
pointing
it's
out,
still
but that's
pointing
not
to-
correct.
That is not the New Hampshire Run for the Fall, and this will be the last year that they do it. They're just, as an organization, not able to sustain it. So the monies that are being donated will be donated to other veteran support organizations like Swim with a Mission. And
Mhm.
there are several other support groups that the donations can be made to. So, and it's a notice that they just provided us, so the
Okay.
organization, so
Mm.
it's unfortunate, but they have not been able to generate the interest in getting the help necessary to do the event.
Well, we did our bit while we
We
could.
did our bit. Yep. And we're very appreciative. Families are very appreciative to everything the resort and the town have done. And everybody who's supported the event for the past 17 years, so
Mm.
it's been good.
Okay. Anything else for department head reports?
I do not have anything else
All
at
right,
this time.
approval of minutes. I'll accept the motion if everyone was happy with the minutes, amended minutes.
Yep, move that we
Second.
accept the meeting, 9/4, yeah.
All in favor? Aye. It's approval of regular meeting minutes for the 4th September 2024. Financial report.
You have expense and revenue lines.
Mhm.
In here. The, the motor vehicle permit fees is actually 160, not 150. So that line is slightly higher than what I'm showing you on the report.
You're
There are
talking about,
no, on the revenue side.
on the revenue
On
side,
the revenue side, motor vehicle permit fees
gotcha,
is 160.
160, so it's a
Yeah.
little bit,
So
getting closer.
it's getting closer.
You think we'll hit
um,
195?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And so there are no expense lines or revenue lines that we're concerned about adjusting at this point in time. I know we're showing under the interest income, we're still showing very low on this report. We
Mhm.
just need to catch up on booking revenues. There's no need to adjust that right now. And you still have an opportunity at tax rate setting to change these if we want.
We'll be closer to the end, so we
Yeah,
have a better
so we'll
feel.
know.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on either expenses or revenues? Alrighty. Let's move on to calendar review. So why don't we incorporate into this? I think you wanted feedback on the
Yeah, on the handout.
on the handout. So this is
Mhm.
the David Britton property donation. We're gonna have the first public hearing as required by RSA 4114-A on 26th September, 3 p.m. And then the second one on 10 October at 6 p.m. So, anyone have any comments on the slides? And so the handout will also include the one-page letter from legal counsel,
So it's gonna
the whole
be
packet.
the
right?
whole packet that I put,
Mhm.
that I included, so it'll include um,
And the RSA,
the RSA, the legal information,
picture of the property
a picture of the property
and your slides.
and slides. Yep,
Okay. Anyone have any questions on the slides? I had a couple very minor
okay.
ones, but I'll let anyone else go.
Yeah, Mark Henderson's only input was that they're not a formal engineering firm, a registered engineering firm.
Okay,
It's an environmental consulting firm. So I did change that reference throughout. He just asked that
okay, fair
we
enough.
do that.
Yeah. So on slide 2,
Yeah,
I would just since we talk about West Branch Road, I would just change it to Mad River at the end, so people know we're talking about the Mad River. The very last, the third bullet,
mhm.
High Country and West Side by the Mad River. It's not, in other words, it's not the West Branch, it's the Mad River. Does that make
Okay,
any sense?
but what it says is it runs between West Branch Road
Mm-hmm.
down along Mad River.
Okay,
to
fair
that
enough.
Comes to 2 townhouses.
That works.
Is that
Yep, no, that works.
with,
Yeah, no,
Is
that
that
works.
okay?
Yep,
Okay.
no, I'm fine.
Yep.
I wanted to check something on just hold on a minute, please. The one other thing I have was on slide 9,
Mhm.
board vote, date and time TBD. Do we want to put in there the date range that we have to do it?
Mm.
So it would be
7 to 14 days from,
yeah, or we can
Yeah.
just say 17 through
yeah, I'll put the dates in.
21 October, just to give it.
Okay.
When are you planning to post this on the website? Just have
Before the
people-
end of the week.
Before the end of the week?
Yep.
That way people have it before
Mhm.
the first meeting, which is coming up
Yes.
next
Yeah,
week.
next week.
That's next Thursday,
Next
right?
Thursday.
Next Thursday at 3
A
p.m.
week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow. Okay, other than that, I'm fine. Wendy, did you have anything?
I did not.
All right, and so that's the calendar review. Planning Board special meeting, also on the 26th at 8 a.m.
What's the special meeting for?
Special meeting,
Well, no, I was gonna say, to present to the planning board, its working group's, options for going forward, with the new town planner in 2025.
Oh, good.
So
That's
the
great.
working group has been working on it. There's already been one meeting. There's a second meeting next week. And then the idea would be to go to the planning board and say, okay, here's what we've looked at, here's, I guess, some of the options, here's where we think we should go and get the buy-in at that time. And then our next select board meeting on the 2nd of October.
That's when you're
Yeah, I'm
gone.
gonna miss that meeting, so just be you two guys, you'll have to talk to Mark ahead of time, Bob, to set the agenda as the vice chair. I did talk to Margaret Turner. Normally, we're fine with 2 people on regular business, but if something really important were to come up and for some reason Wendy or you, Bob, were unavailable or hit by a moose or something, that'd leave only one person here. So for an extraordinary circumstance, I asked Margaret if she'd be willing to substitute as at what would be the second select board member while I'm gone. And she's fine with that. So I think I just need to write a
Just
letter.
do a
What's the,
letter in case, it would be, he can, or any of you
Right.
can appoint or appoint someone to serve in your stead if you're gonna be gone for extended period or whatever.
Okay.
Or
but in
this
this case, we're
situation.
not asking her to attend the 2 October
No.
meeting or to handle any routine business. You guys will be here. It's only if one or the other of you is not available and you need 2 people to discuss a very important issue.
Yeah.
So if you guys are okay with that,
Yeah.
I'll write something to confirm Margaret's fine with it.
Excuse me, Rich,
Yeah,
and Mark, I had, Steve had told me that the meeting was gonna be moved to the 9th of October, the following Wednesday from the 2nd, so I just don't wanna create confusion.
We actually did that. We moved to
We had-
the
that's
second
right.
and
Yeah,
fourth.
that's
So I had
right.
that
but
on
that,
the-
well, we need to move it back.
No, we
Oh.
don't need to. You don't need to. They can
Oh.
still have the meeting on the 9th. You're
Right.
still traveling.
Right,
Right,
It doesn't change anything, but it won't
that's
be
right.
the
Yep.
2nd, it'll be the 9th.
Yeah,
Okay, I
that's
just
right. We
wanted-
did
Yep.
change that.
Yes,
thank you, that's right.
you're absolutely right.
We moved it along.
Yeah, it says a meeting, but if it-
Yeah.
So we're
Thank
not
you.
meeting on the second.
No,
No, the
Ninth.
next
The
select board meeting
Everybody
is on the
on board.
9th at 3
That's
P M.
it's the 9th.
That's
Right.
right.
Thank you.
No, thank
And
you.
then Wendy, you and I will be meeting, I will be back.
On the 10th,
On the 10th
Yeah.
for the
second.
second public hearing.
Right.
So what's the second meeting in October is when's the 9th and what's the next one?
23rd,
23rd?
right? 14
I
days
have it
after
as
the,
23rd, 9th, and the 23rd.
yeah,
Right.
9th
Right.
and the 23rd.
And we had done that because of the voting, if we decided to pick the day to vote on the
Right,
It gave,
donation, it
right.
could be at a regular meeting.
right,
if-
we can do it
so
on
people
the,
could-
no, that takes us out of the regular meeting, doesn't it?
No,
23rd, if we hold the
no,
second
that's
meeting on the
13
10th.
days from the 10th. That's
That'll be the-
13 days. That would be
It'd
the
be the
last.
last.
Yeah, okay,
That would be the 13
Mhm.
days. Yeah.
Right,
right,
if
We
that's how
wanted to
decided
wait.
to do that, right,
if we wanted to wait the full,
right. If there was a
14
reason,
days.
it gave us the flexibility.
Yeah.
right, or to lay on a special meeting, we can talk, we'll see how things go by the 10th,
Yeah,
right? I think
exactly.
that's right, I think that was the plan, I've forgotten that,
Yeah, no, I had to.
thank you. All right, everyone straight with the calendar then, 9/23. And public hearing still on the 10th, got it. All right, board concerns and directives, anybody have anything?
Yeah, for
How
the,
about it?
NHMA, we had submitted that floor proposal.
Yeah,
And there was a request from
Lebanon,
Lebanon
yeah,
to amend it. Because they currently have contracts with out-of-state municipalities because.
You add until they expire.
Well, we.
Yeah, the
add
wording
exempting-
is right here.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
added,
saw the wording, but so
well,
it
until,
says,
exempting, but there's no limit.
yeah, I'm just saying,
But they could
maybe it
renew.
should say it's until they expire.
until,
Well, yeah, it says exempting existing agreements, so they
because they don't have a
can't,
set period
they
of
can't
time.
extend, they have a set period of time
Right.
within their
So this
agreements.
would not allow for a contract
It would
extension.
not, no.
Right,
They don't,
Correct.
okay,
There's they have 7 years
Yeah.
remaining on their contract. And they actually need to do a full new agreement because the agreements that they're currently under, the section of the landfill that they're using for that contract
Mm.
expires in 7 years. And they will have to go to DES for an all-new section to their landfill. So they have to enter all new contracts.
okay. Are you okay
So
with
that-
this amendment?
I thought it made sense, but wanted to double check with the both of you before we move forward with telling them that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I think it will be a bit of an uphill battle,
Anyway.
with the NHMA because of the because of the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Clause.
Right,
Um,
Mhm.
but I think the spirit of,
we will
There
have
is
planted our
it.
flag.
yes, and it's up to people who understand how to work these laws in drafting a law.
Right.
Well, and remember, this is just the position,
Right.
like the actual
Exactly.
language of the law. It's
Exactly.
so,
Who
it's so
knows?
the people can look at it and say, yeah, that fits into our intent, or
Gotcha.
no, it
Yes.
doesn't.
Exactly. Um,
Do you have anything else
um,
on this or,
that was it on this.
yep, something else?
Just double check my notes real quick with the MSW group, just for quick updates. I know Rich, your green cone has not been successful, but both Rick's and mine so far have been, so we have
With
fingers
no bear
crossed.
intervention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
as,
so perhaps I should relinquish mine to somebody else, because it's not gonna work.
yeah.
I
You-
mean, he's
you-
got it twice now,
Yeah, I think he's probably habituated and that
Yeah.
you don't want that.
so I think I'm done. So if you want to come
Great.
by and pick it up,
See if someone
I'll
else.
put, once you do that, I'll put the dirt
I
back in,
think-
you don't have to do the,
Yeah, I think a couple of people had expressed interest.
yeah, I mean, in fact, I was gonna put it back in and just leave it there for the winter, but I don't think it's gonna work.
Well, as was brought
For
up
me.
at the meeting, the springtime will probably be the time
The
where
worst.
it's the biggest trial.
Right.
Because they'll wake up hungry, and in
Right.
theory, over the winter, the contents break down slower.
Right, of course.
So that,
There's gonna be a lot of
spring
stuff in
will-
there that I
spring will
really
be the
have to
real-
clean up a lot of stuff,
yeah,
so.
that'll be the real test.
Anytime you like to stop by, you can just, everything's out there. Don't worry about, don't worry about filling the hole, we'll take care of that. Unless you got really energetic guy, but you don't know where I put the dirt, so from there I can show you,
Or
but
you hit the dirt.
yeah.
And
It's
we had,
unfortunate, I was looking forward,
yeah,
that was a really
yeah,
great idea, just,
you don't want a bear hanging out on your lawn all the time.
anyway.
The only other thing we talked about that is finding an efficient way to communicate with everybody about the textiles ending up in the appropriate apparel impact receptacle.
Yes,
here,
the,
And not in the dumpsters, like in the
Right.
condo associations in particular. So we talked about possibly, as we're going through, and I know Megan, you're compiling an inventory of what we have currently, but perhaps there'll be a way as everything gets standardized to stencil on the side, not only about the textiles, but also about batteries. You know, we certainly don't want any fires or anything from, so just be able to stencil on the side what is not appropriate to go in the dumpsters and where they should be brought instead. It's our only other suggestion.
good.
Anyway.
Bob, any concerns or?
Nope.
Directives? I noticed, we don't have action items,
Yeah, I did
anything,
not.
nothing,
Yeah,
this,
there was so much.
no
other
change.
stuff on it. No change, no significant
changes,
changes.
all right? That leaves us, I think, with correspondence, we got 2 of the 3. Abatement confirmation, so
So I granted this
Yep.
abatement for the.
pass it along.
And just need your ratification and signature on the form,
Mhm.
if you're okay with it.
Send it along,
Questions?
no sign.
Okay, if I can find it, or when I find it, I'll give it to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was one other thing I
Sure.
wanted to ask about, the AARP designation. Where are we at with that? Was that something that was being worked on by staff and we were gonna vote? on
No,
it?
that was, yes, you.
Yeah.
Town core working group said it was something that they would be interested in, but that they would pass it to the board of
Yes.
select because because you need a point person.
Right.
To head this program up, and that it was gonna be presented to the board of selectmen to find out if, because that's something that the town wants to pursue and have a point person to do that.
Right. And I think
That's
we-
kind of what you guys need to discuss was how my impression of how we left it.
Good person for what?
The AARP town designation, the I know we had
An
talked about it.
AARP certified walkability community
and
or
I
something
thought
like
we talked
that. I
about it
forget
here.
what the title was.
And I thought there was something that we were supposed to write up or.
There's
We
a
did
whole
talk about it?
application,
I
I
thought
mean,
we had.
it's.
Right, we had, well, you had brought it to the planning board,
More people brought it up, remember, at our
Right.
meeting, because I was the liaison, I kind of took it over and researched it a little bit, just to see what was involved in it. And, a
so,
lot of the things in it we're already doing as a town, it's just that in order to apply, there's a lot, that someone needs to write up the whole application, and be a liaison and just kind of make.
I see, and the town core working group,
There's nobody that wanted.
Wanted to do
take
it,
that on.
right.
It's-
nor was
so
there
it
on the
was,
planning
Well,
board.
let's see, that was I mean,
Right, yeah, it was a little bit ago, but. Anyway, I guess we need to make sure that the select board is on board with continuing.
I think we
with
need
this.
I think we need to print it off. I don't know
we
that you
discussed it.
guys have ever
Yeah, okay, I
looked
might
at
be
it.
conflating meetings.
I don't
I don't think we've discussed it at a select
The
board.
select
Okay.
board, I don't
Okay.
think has talked about it.
No,
Okay,
so let's put it
So
on the
we'll
agenda,
put it on the 9th agenda.
as long as you don't pick
And-
somebody who's not there. That's the rep.
Darn, he knew what I was gonna do. No, we won't. but
Well,
it'll
I'm
be
familiar with
provide
it, so I'm familiar with
information.
this, so
We'll
if you guys
provide
wanna talk about
information
it,
to
right.
Bob and
Yeah.
Wendy.
Yeah.
And discuss it.
good.
Okay.
We're pushing up against the
We're
five thirty.
5:30.
Come
We're getting
on.
close. Well, that's it. Is there anything? I have one very quick thing in non-public, very, very quick. If you have anything in
I have
non-public,
nothing.
all right,
No.
so
thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into non-public for legal.
For good
Have a great
night.
night.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging around. Just let me know when we're off, Sharon.
Get off the, like,